Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Bill. Today's video is going to be the Star Wars campaign update. Last Sunday we played Star Wars campaign instead of the Dark Suns campaign that's been going on. So this will continue that video series. In this one I am also a player and not a game master running the game. So you'll get a perspective of what we have going on. And this is more or less a recap so that me and the other fellow players could watch and keep up with what's going on. A few months have passed since last game in the game. So we take up with our base being mostly constructed to where we want it. And we had just had our failed mission planet side. And that was the last time we played, which I think was a month ago. So now we just returned back to the base, and now we're gathering what we want to do next. Some of the people want to go scavenge a bunch of debris and get some metal and material and stuff like that. So and I believe it ended up being, other than the player that wasn't there, it ended up being everybody except my characters went and to do the debris retrieval. And they found a chunk that was huge. Then they found another chunk that the density was so dense they were very surprised that material-wise there shouldn't be something that heavy, let alone in the debris field. So while they're exploring the debris field and meeting up with that stuff and loading up as much debris as they can into the transports that they took, Mike Jedi, trying to remember the character name, but he decided he was going to just meditate and hang out at the base. And then the tech expert, my Asgard, he was messing around with a few of the sensor stuffs, and then he picked up what he needed to get us back to the Star Wars galaxy, because right now we're in the what's it called? The StarCraft world area. So we're dealing with the Zerg and the Protoss and the humans. But once he figures that out, my Jedi fails a roll while he's meditating, and he's plagued with all these nightmarish dreams. Meanwhile, the Jedi is what brought the information. The Jedi brings the information over to the tech expert and the player that's not there. And we decide to try to figure out where that is. And we scan the area for that mineral. And we find it. And we go and we try to get us a pathway, like scanning a pathway, so that way as a group we can go back with a more or less a map of the area and find out what was there as far as twists and turns we'd have to make. Well, the mineral's in the heart of the Budang, and I don't mean the physical heart, but in the heart of the carcass of the Budang, so somewhere in the chest to stomach area. And the Budang's just this giant, and I mean like planet-sized creature that is dead in space, with parts of it still having living flesh and pustules and stuff, trying to dissolve it. And there's a mining colony that's inside the mouth and skull of this thing. Well, we on our way back from the Boudang to regroup with the party tells us of that big thing in space. So we go and we look at it. And before we get too close to it, the Protoss guy, the NPC, the PC that's an NPC this time around, just says nope. And after retreating, I asked him why he wanted to get away from it, and he said that was where the Paladin-like Protoss use ships like that, and everything but that ends up cloaked. So I found that interesting, and the rest of the party did too. And then we gathered up and we all headed to the Boudang. We got in the mining area after talking with a few people, and once we were in, we descended into the area. We used a little bit of our role-playing skills to gather some information from the locals before we headed in, especially with how deep we were going to go. Well, we head in and we get, I think we get like a couple of rooms, using the term vaguely there, into the Boudang, and then we start encountering the microbes, the bugs, the pustules. We start with a room that has pustules, and I pop one with my move object, which triggers all the others to pop, and then we just pick our way through the acid puddles without around the acid puddles without trying to get burned. Once we were in, the next big room that we had an encounter in was filled with worms and parasites and stuff wanting to attack. So I use my move object to pick up a big worm, and I use it to like clear a path and smash everything in its way. And I do that for a turn or two, or a couple extra after that. Don't remember. But that was my actions during the whole combat. Meanwhile, we got surrounded by some stuff, and the rest of the party was handling that. But after making that, whatever survived our rampage retreated from us. So we then go deeper into the Boudang. And I think at some point we find a passageway that takes us to the heart, and we go around the heart. And we had a warning that the heart, if it was disturbed in a weird way, it's been building up energy, it would probably explode. So we would just avoid the heart area altogether, and then we continue on into another room where we get I think we got attacked again. Can't remember specifically. But the last room we enter is our final destination we were seeking, and we had to cut our way in. But once we did, we see all these crystals all over this area, and these little cocoon baby things, as well as a big cocooned thing. And then we see these little worker Zerg come in and start carrying off the baby things that are there. We don't really disturb them doing that. After that, we attack the big thing because it hatched, and it was one of those big warrior bugs. Fighting it as easily as we did, me and the other Jedi. He plays the Doug Jedi, I play a human Jedi. We have another Jedi that is a sand person. But the Doug and I pick up the bug, and then I slowly take the bug and pierce it on one of those protruding crystals. And as slow as possible with my move object until I have him stuck on there. and I was going to leave him to die. Meanwhile, the Doug started pulling the legs off of it. And that's how me and him got 2 more dark side points. So the Great Sith Lord is slowly getting there, at least the prestige class. We used to be balanced out, like 2 of us were seeking the dark side and 2 of us seeking the light. But one of the players that played the light Jedi had dropped out. Well, after gathering as much crystal as we could, we filled up all the crystal containers, and then we took as many chunks of crystal as we could. I think it ended up being like 5 tons of crystal. And then we, using my move object, we took the 5 tons of crystal and we went all the way to the beginning. And the Doug carried the bug on that crystal spear as part of the crystals we were taking to use as a trophy. And once we brought that out, the locals, especially the ones in authority, were very surprised there were even Zerg here. So they asked to read my mind, and I say yes, but only lasts 24 hours, because that's about how long we've been in the Boudang. And he does, and then he gets all panicky, and then the mine's now shut down, and everybody's jumping out of the Boudang in whatever transports they got. So we follow suit and we leave, and then they destroy the Boudang. So no more resource gathering in that thing. But that's okay. We got what we needed crystal-wise. So we take the crystal back to our base, and we're now synthesizing it into mid-grade or high-grade of this mid-grade-ish hyperdrive fuel. Once we get that made, we're jumping back. We're going to load up the whatever we're taking back. We're going to load up as much trade material as we can, and when we're back in that space, we're going to buy proper fuel for hyperspace, and we might upgrade these ships to have actual shielding on them, since these are the human ships from the StarCraft game. So we'll throw some Star Wars shielding on these, and that'll make them better. We might change out a little bit of their armaments, but it wouldn't be a lot, because most, other than the transports, most of their armaments seem to be very effective. So, well, that's everything that happened last Star Wars game. When we get back to the Star Wars galaxy, it's already been like half a year. We were talking maybe even a whole year that we've been gone. And the Great Sith Jedi War is now over, that we conveniently didn't get to participate in. So when we get back, we get to start messing around with both sides that are left, because there are still both sides active at the moment, and figure out what we're doing from there. Well, I know this was a little bit of a ramble, but hopefully you all enjoyed it. Until we all game again, guys.